Brett here from Mouse Models. We have all your TT120 needs from Hornby, Pico. Also, we are the exclusive stockist of West Hill Wagon Works TT120 range.
Pre-order now from Mouse Models, approved stockist of Revolution Train's new TT120 range. Hey guys, Chris here from TT120. Today we're going to have a quick look at all the compatible power banks, the current compatible power banks, and whether or not they actually fit and what they do and don't fit in the current range of TT120 from Hornby. We're going to do it in sort of two parts. We're going to have a look at what just plugins and plays, okay, and then we're also then going to have a look at what you can do that might need a little bit of fettling. Now, when I started the video, which I've already recorded, I was looking at the AE power bank from DCC Concepts, looking at Hornby's original 7040. Now, I also, for a very brief period, I managed to get my hands on Hornby's smaller, new 7040. I was loaned that by Jenny Kirk. Thank you very much, Jenny. And then I wanted to also look at what's coming from Tromatic. Now, he's the importer of Tromatic. I think they're in Holland. I'm not sure, but they're from Europe anyway. Now, their power bank works with HM7000, but when I was doing it, it didn't have a plug on. Since then, they've sent me some with the HM7000 plug pre-wired onto it. So this makes it a lot easier. There's a lot less to play with, okay? And I will be doing a further video where I fit the Tromatic versions into these LOCO'S. But for this one, we're just going to do a bit of a review about what fits, what doesn't fit, so you know what you make a decision about whether you want to buy any of these particular power banks, okay? See you at the end. New from West Hill Wagon Works in TT120 scale, the workshop inspection pits. There's a double length and a single. And don't forget, use PGTT120 at checkout to save yourself 5% on all orders online. Not that these probably need any introduction, but we should be looking today at the Class 43 HST, the Class 08 Shunter, the Class 50, the Gresley Pacific A1 and A3 and A4 chassis, plus also the Princess Coronation classes. So let's have a look at this brand new HM7040. This is the smaller version of the power bank. It's considerably smaller, as you can see. Here's the original. So it's basically 2 pots rather than 3, and here is the AE from DCC Concepts, which is 4 pots. Let's get the old measuring stick out. So in width, 6.7, okay, and that's considered to be thinner than the original Hornby version, but not quite as thin as the DCC Concepts version. And then let's have a look at, obviously the length is much shorter. So 1306 for the length, which is obviously considerably shorter than the 2018, and what we got here, 2090, which is obviously slightly longer. Next dimension, what we're done. Okay, the depth, right, 1215. Which is probably about the same. Oh, it's a little bit thicker. And obviously nowhere near as thick as the AE product. But are they going to fit? Well, let's go have a look-see, shall we? Now then, we'll get the quick one out of the way first. That's the Class 43, which I'm sure you're all fully aware of. Has a huge void at the back where the guards room is, okay? So you pop it out now. I've already fitted Hornby's big original 7040 in there. There's a previous video, which will be a link in description below. So we know that fits absolutely fine. So obviously, I'm not going to bother trying to rewire that, because obviously the new one's obviously going to fit. And we know as well that the DCC Concepts one fits there too. Now the Class 50, well, we'll whip that open, undo the ends. Now, this is a much heavier loco, and they've filled everything with it. Now, this one is a little bit different. It's a bit tricky. We've got a big sound chamber. Now, at the very end of this, there's a little, I would say, not a running session, but a sound session, where we show you the difference between whether or not you should muck about with these, because I have mucked about with one of these, and I've taken the big sound chamber out and I put a small sound chamber in, but it sounds awful. So I'm not even going to bother showing you the video of that. That was such a waste of time. Now there's a nice space here at the end of the Class 50, and I was kind of hoping it's not big enough for the DCC Concepts one. It's obviously way too small for Hornby's big boy, but I was kind of hoping we might be able to see if this new 7040 would go in there without any real bother. So I'm just going to sort of stick it in place with a bit of black tack, and we'll plug it all in, and then we'll fit the body on top and see if it works, okay? But before we do that, I'd like to point out that big space at the back of the cab where the driver's doors are. It's a nice space. It's 4.56 wide. There's plenty of depth to it. It's just a shame that nothing that we've currently available here will actually slot into that space. You know, do we really need to peek through a window and see the back of the cab? Especially as there's a lighting unit in there anyway. So that's a little space that I'm going to be thinking about in the future. But first of all, we'll put this together, and then we'll see if we can get the lid back on. Right, let's get this lid on, and I think that tucks away all nice and tidily, and we'll do all the little bits and bats, push it down nice and firmly, and then we'll see whether or not it actually fits. Okay, so now as I thought, you can't get it all the way down. It's about 1 millimetre too long. If you see this end, it's nice and tight up against the buffer beam, and the other end you can see from the side there that, as you see, it rises up about 1 millimetre, and you got about 1.5 mil at the end here. So that's disappointing and rather unfortunate. So let's try one of the Duchesses from the Coronation class. So we'll go in from the top first of all, which is a nice easy access. Take the blanking out, put an X18 pin in. So it was a little bit fiddly. Get there in the end. Right, done. Unfortunately, there really isn't any, although the width is nice, there's no physical space in there to get that in, however you try to play. So I think we're going to have to go in from underneath. So, all right, let's crack on with that. Okay, so there's 4 screws as opposed to the 2 screws on the Pacifics, and there's a 5th screw hidden underneath the NEM socket when you need to remove the brake unit for that. Off it comes. Now, we've got a lot of space in here, but I really don't want to be cutting into the sound chamber. Now, in a previous video I put a DCC Concepts one in the sound chamber, but it's not an ideal thing to do. But there is a lot of space down here that could be shifted. I think if you wanted to do this, you could cut that open, but at the end of the day, although you could fit one of these new ones into the sound chamber, I think the loss of that wonderful wail, the depth of it, isn't worth it. So I really do think we need to find an alternative for it. It's this great big lump of metal here. It's not doing anything. It's not helping the drive. Okay, so I think you could easily trim a little chunk out of that and put it in, and I think that would be the best solution if you're happy to start jigging about with your Loco. If you're not, unfortunately, if you're only after a plug-in, then this one hasn't worked either. Now, unfortunately, I don't have an A1, A3 or A4 that hasn't already been converted by either This Way Works or myself. But I do have this from a project Loco where I don't need the tender, and the tender's still all intact, so this should do the job nicely. Now, on Jenny Kirk's show, she did say that she thought it might be a good fit, this new power bank, but I'm not so sure. Doing a few little measurings here and there makes me wonder whether or not the water, the top of the water tank, is not going to give us a bit of grief. But we shall. It's going to be very close, but we'll put it in and we'll see if it fits. See, I think it's not going to fit, but proof is in the pudding. Let's give it a go. Although I should take this opportunity to point out that this big flap at the back, which is the connection for a speaker, which you don't need if you want to use a plug-in speaker, you could cut that off. And if you cut that off, I think you'd have, and just use your speaker with a speaker cable that comes free with your kit, with a box, then you wouldn't have to worry about it, and you would get the power bank in. So this would be an easy fit if you just cut that tag off the back. I think there's enough space there for the power bank. Although, let's line it up and have a little look-see. Maybe not, maybe yes, maybe no. Yeah, no, I think it definitely would fit if you removed that contact layer from the board and just wired your speaker directly in. But anyway, enough yapping, let's just see if it fits. Okay, well, let's plug it in and we shall get the right way around, make sure. Coil that up, tuck it underneath, and then let's just see if it fits on top. Now it fits at the front, but there's no way it fits at the back. If we take off the coal out of it and have a look-see, then I think it could well work if we remove that piece, but I don't know if that's, again, it's not a plug-in and no messing about fix. It's one where you've got to do some fiddling about. So again, possibly let's class that as a fail. Now I've taken the top off of the 08 just so we can clarify what I'm talking about, because we already know that the HM7000 chip doesn't fit, and it's the 6-pin HM7000 that will fit. So we might want power banks for that one in the future. So the only real option is to unplug the underside of this here and take out the interior. Now the cab does come off quite neatly. I'm not going to do it now, but you can unplug that, take the interior out. But again, there's enough space here to fit all of this. When all this comes out, there's enough space in here to fit the old power bank, let alone this new one. And again, it's not just a simple plug and play. You've got to take the body off. You've got to start mucking about and removing interiors. How do I know that one of these fits in there? Because all of my others have them fitted in there. Okay, so you just have to take my word for it, or Richard from This Way Works. Okay, so let's do a bit of a roundup and see what worked and what didn't work. Well, it doesn't bode well, does it? Hornby HM7000. What was I calling it earlier? Plug and play, easy fit compatibility. First version, well, it won't go in the A4, it won't go in the Coronation, the 08, the 50, but it'll easily go in the 43. The new smaller one, it's exactly the same deal. So what about if we want to use the HM7070 but actually getting there and doing a bit of digging around? Well, the smaller version is slightly better than the bigger version, but neither of them can get into the Class 50 without chopping things about. And I really don't know, it's just, So what's the alternative to Hornby? Well, we've got the DCC Concepts AE and the Tromatic, which we're going to look at in a minute. Now, the DCC Concepts, it does better, but it's still compromised. You still have to do a bit of mucking about to get it into the A4, to the Coronation, and the Class 50, and it's the dimensions just too wrong for the 08. The Tromatic one will, however, fit into all of them without any mucking about. So, but you've got to do a little bit of soldering. So I think we should move on to that and show you how we solder up the Tromatic. And I'm going to choose the most difficult one, the Class 50, to show you how I installed the power bank. Right, so let's have a look at the Tromatic. Now, and this comes from Tromatic, in Eatonwick, England. There you go. Sven is the chap there. Now, Sven sent me this, and it is as per its original configuration. In other words, it doesn't have a plug-in socket wired to it. But since then, they have decided to go down the route of putting plug-in wires. So it has the same plug-in as a DCC Concepts AE version. I borrowed one off of a damaged AE Concepts one to make this video work. When I say damaged, it wasn't the fault of anyone other than my dog, who chewed it. And I don't think that's covered by Richard's warranty. Anyway, so you've got a couple of different choices of pots here. And I'm going to go for the slimmer pots, the capacitors, because I think these will be a good match for that behind the doors in the back of the cab for the Class 50. So we'll have a little quick measurement, and yeah, 4.1, and the gap was 4.5. So I think this is going to work out an absolute treat. So we'll pop the top off as per usual, and let's see how these pots, will they actually fit in that space, as I suspect they will. So, boom, yep, a little bit of black tack, and those pots are going to sit in there perfectly. While we're here, we'll just see if there's enough space to pop the little board in. Obviously, there's tons of space to pop the little board in. Now remember, you won't be having to worry about soldering a plug onto this because the new ones come with plugs. What we need to do is now just wire up the cable, the brown and the black cables, to these two pots. Here's a little graphic to show you what you need to do. These graphics, they come in with a package, or if not, you can get them from the shop. Okay, online, or you can revert back to my video. But all we really need to do now is we just need to make sure we're getting the right leg. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to cut them short, but first of all I'm going to colour them red and black so I know which is which. Right, quick bit of speed up soldering, stick them down on a bit of black tack, make sure the measurement's right, a little bit of flux, help it all join up together nicely, and make sure that you apply the heat and the solder at the same time, and you should have a lovely, pretty little solder. There you go, perfect. Quick wrap with some insulation tape, just to make it nice and tidy, and also so we don't have any accidents. There we go. Right, quick bit of cleanup with some alcohol, just to make sure everything sticks properly. That's all nicely bridged together, and we just need to make sure that's stuck down nicely. And then we'll fit that in place. I'm going to just nip these, bend them over so that we're all nice and short. Cut these to length. Sorry about the big pincers, but I've lost my small ones, or someone's borrowed them. Right, and now before I solder these in place, then what I'd like to do is put a little bit of shrink film around them. So we'll pop a little bit of that on. Right, once they're in place, we'll have a nice little bit of soldering and tum-to-tum, and then we will heat up the shrink wrap to seal it all in place. We have to make sure that when we position all this, we don't get in the way of those screw holes that holds the body on. Now I'll speed through the next bit because not a lot of point in me really showing you soldering a socket on, a plug on, should I say, because now they're supplied with the plugs on, so there's no no real point for this footage. All that remains now is to plug it in, tuck everything away nice and neatly, a little bit of black tack to hold it in place, and let's get that body on and do a test. So the first test will have no sound or action. You can see we've got Bluetooth connectivity there on Cerebrogar. I want to see how long it will be before we lose Bluetooth without any lights or power. Well, that'll do. Next job, let's put a little bit of tape over to try and represent a inchal frog, or maybe even a really filthy piece of track. And we'll just see how she copes running over that, okay? Where's the logo? There it is. Pop that on and let's see what it does. Now, normally without a power bank, I would find that it would cut out almost straight away. Just going to give the power bank about 20 seconds or so to charge up, sitting there, and it should move off without any problems. So it looks like no issues there running over the equivalent of an inchal frog. We'll go back over just to double check. Yeah, I think we're all good here. Now for the daft test. Let's see how far we can go over a completely dead track. There's no real point in this, but people like to see it, don't they? Okay, so now the chip's in the think. I'm probably about to lose Bluetooth around about now. There she goes. Okay, so as a test in comparison, this is Hornby's latest smaller unit. I've unplugged the Tromatic and I've plugged in Hornby's one, just blue tacked on top. Okay, so it's travelled an extra about an extra 20 millimeters. And it's obviously struggling, and will no doubt lose the Bluetooth connectivity at any moment now. Although it's holding on for longer than it is a bigger capacitor. There she goes. So on the left, I've got Cerebrogar, its original sound chamber. On the right, I've got the other 50, where I replace the sound chamber with a smaller chamber to fit the DTC Concepts one. This gives you a comparison of sound. Well, I was a bit disappointed that the new Hornby smaller power bank doesn't work really as a plug-in any better than the original one did for TT120. Now I think it actually works very well for a lot of the double O range, so I think it's still obviously a good product. Okay, and also it gives you a little bit more scope for mucking about if you are prepared to get involved in actually digging around inside your loco. But if you actually want to plug in one, then so far it's really what we're getting from Tromatic now, or from Tromatic. Now, a little birdie has told me that the guys at DCC Concepts are having a chat with AE about making now that I think could be a real winner, and we'll have a look into that when or if it arrives. Okay, but for now, I hope you find this video helpful and informative. If you do and you like the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the little bell. Poke Peach in the face. And there's a couple of videos at the end that Jim will put up. Cheers. Cheery bye.
And that's all there is to tell. I'll be on my way now, sir. I've got urgent business in the south. I have to meet a man at Melbourne Junction.